Call this meeting of the Area Planning Commission to order. Please rise for the pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. We'll begin tonight with roll call.
Darren Price.
Here.
Bill Free. Dale Munson.
Present.
Gary Naylor.
Present.
Robert Stewart.
Present.
Ryan Robb.
Present.
Bill Mackey. Gerald Drew.
Yes.
Bill McDaniel.
Present.
Jeff Wesley.
Present.
And Beverly Rude.
Okay, we do have a quorum. So we'll move on. Do we have any minutes to be approved?
I did not print any. If I was sent some, I apologize.
I sent you some before the last meeting.
Oh, you're talking about the ones for the inside. Okay,
Okay,
all right.
we'll move on. Tonight we have a public hearing for non-conforming lot amendment to our zoning code. Everyone has that in front of them. I don't see anybody in the audience that will be wanting to talk, I assume, so do we still have to officially open it?
Yes.
Okay. I'll entertain a motion to open the public hearing.
Okay, I did notice one item I need to correct. It's impermeable on number 6.
Oh, M.
I-M, yeah, impermeable, rather than permeable. So it should be impermeable surface area may not exceed permissible lot coverage.
Okay. There's been a motion made and seconded that we open the public hearing. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed, the same. Motion carries. We'll begin the public hearing. Seeing no audience participation that we have, is there anything from the board members that they'd like to add or subtract or to what is presented to us?
Because I do believe I got all the corrections in that board members had last time we discussed this.
Okay. Also, Bill,
Yeah.
we talked about, and I've slept since then, but we've talked about lots. You know, you can't create a lot
Yeah.
that's non-conforming.
Yeah.
We do have that language.
Yeah, because that's already in the zoning code.
Let's say a structure is destroyed on a lot next year, and it qualifies as a non-conforming lot to rebuild. We can still use this
Yes.
ordinance for that. They just can't subdivide.
Exactly.
Okay, all right.
Because what we have done is, or what I have done, it's kind of is if it's a smaller structure or small lot, is you can use the same square footage for as far as the footprint goes.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay,
You can actually go down to that size.
okay. Is there anything else? Brian, this is probably more up your request or needs and requests than anybody. I think this was one of the big ticket items you had on your plate.
Yeah. I think it's fine.
Okay. Anyone else? I'll entertain a motion to close the public hearing then.
So second.
Motion made and seconded that we close the public hearing. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed, the same. Motion carries. Now, Bill, this will be sent to the city council or commissioners and city
It
council?
will actually be sent to both.
Okay, all right. But it really doesn't affect the
county, because this is inside the city limits only, isn't it?
Yes. But, but we still want to keep it consistent.
Right,
for
right,
the two,
yeah.
Yeah, 1, 2, 3.
Well, I would entertain a motion to send a favorable recommendation for this amendment to our zoning ordinance to both the county commissioners and the city council.
So moved.
There's been a motion made and seconded that we do send a favorable recommendation.
Okay, who made the motion, favorable motion?
Darrell,
Darrell.
or should I say,
Send it to the,
Yep, forward.
forward it to them.
Yep.
Make sure
And
we
if
get it.
it's a yes vote, it's a favorable recommendation.
Correct.
If it's a no vote, it's a non-favorable.
Exactly,
okay,
correct.
that's how it'll be. Is there any other discussions or questions? Once again, if you, the way we vote, we'll vote. If you vote yes, it will be a favorable recommendation to the commissioners and the city council. If you vote no, it'll be a non-favorable recommendation sent to them. Roll call vote?
Darren Price,
Yes.
Dale Munson,
Yes.
Gary Naylor,
Yes.
Robert Stewart,
Yes.
Brian Robb,
Yes.
Gerald Drew.
Yes.
Motion carries with a favorable recommendation.
6-0.
We will send this to both bodies for their approval.
Or modifications.
Now, I have a question.
Yeah.
I was wondering, do we have the capabilities of, I thought when we got our new websites, we had an easier capabilities of adding and subtracting things on the site as far as minutes or,
Yeah, I can do that. I need to get in develop the routine for doing it, and I'll have Michael help me set up the,
well, I was wondering, because I had some people suggest to me and ask me about some things since the public hearing, about if we couldn't put some more stuff on our website. And I was wondering if maybe we could start publishing our approved ordinance changes on our website, as well as maybe drafts of new ones that we're discussing and so on.
okay.
I thought maybe
Yeah, well, what I can,
that would be one less thing they could say, well,
yeah,
we didn't see it on your website. Well, yeah, it's there.
well, that's, yeah, because I need, Michael can set me up to then what I need to do to actually then directly add them.
Yeah.
So we can create the pages within the area plan commission, that, for example, is, okay, the agendas, minutes.
Yes.
The, various aspects of the ordinance.
And I think once we get in the swing of it,
Yeah.
it probably won't take much time.
No.
To upload.
Yeah, the main one is just getting into the, number one, getting
The
it set up,
swing.
and then getting into the habit of doing it
Yes.
with everything else.
Okay, all right. So I thought maybe if we could get this published on our website and as moving forward to the commissioners and the council, and maybe there will be some people show up at those meetings to speak on it, maybe, I don't know. Okay, thank you. Next, we've got discussion draft on the parking amendments.
Okay.
We have a public hearing set for, in the motions for August 24th.
Yeah. There's still a few things I need to review actually in the text. But, I lost kind of a couple weeks working on this. But one thing I did was finally able to start working on next week was the spreadsheet. So, because I think y'all recall us mentioning that, well, we need to, I really need to go around and then just analyze the parking, existing parking. How that would work now, so you can see what it is. I went through several different things and using that 300 square feet per space. And a lot of them are sufficient as far as the number of parking spaces in it, because what I did, I'd look at the number of parking spaces that they had. Okay, I would count as I went by, but as then also using the aerial photography. But some of those I don't always go by at the when at their peak busyness. So some of you might have a little better feel for some of these also. But one thing I did notice is that it seems as though even if it's smaller, it seems like with specialty retail, for example, the Subway up on top of the hill, I mean, you never really, I mean, how many parking spaces do you really see being used there? Because mostly it's drive-through. Drive-through businesses, restaurants, seems to be okay for the most part unless it's really a small square footage in the small square footage. So and what we have in there for the banks is it really is excessive. For example, banks are excessive. Sit-down restaurants that gives me a little more concern than anything else, because when I started counting the number of spaces and then we look at using that 300 square feet. Some of those, for example, is let me find,
So
yeah,
for instance, if you drop down here to the pizza place,
yep,
you're using a 300 square foot
yeah, because that's,
or a parking space per 300 square foot
Yep.
of building. So that would equal 13.33.
yeah, so you always round up with the parking.
Okay.
So that'd be 14.
14.
And I think 14 is probably inadequate.
That's not the existing.
No, that's
under
what
the new
that's what it
formula.
would be under the new formula.
Okay, all right.
So that's what those numbers are right there, the spaces with proposed parking. So I think what I think might be appropriate is then create a separate category for both the restaurants, sit down, and then also drive-throughs. Because they really don't fit neatly within that 300 square feet.
Bill, and I continue to go back to this review committee.
Yeah.
But why couldn't the review committee look at those situations
Yeah, we could. Yeah.
per permit? And just like this, well, it's a sit-down restaurant and 13 parking spots is not enough. 14 parking spots is not enough.
Yeah.
Well, then couldn't we put language in here to allow the review committee
To
to modify that?
Yeah, that would be,
Or the director to
well-
modify it with the recommendations of the review committee or something?
yeah. Jeff, would that be appropriate then we had the right language in the parking?
Yeah, I mean, you can deviate from it.
Okay. Include authority.
But and there again, I would think if the owner of a potential restaurant, sit-down restaurant, looked at that and said, people, 14 spots is not enough for me.
Yeah,
Well, then we ought to be able to give him
yeah,
more.
yeah.
But yet, if he comes in and says, well, that's plenty for me,
Yeah.
we shouldn't have an excessive amount to require him to build a bigger parking lot.
Yeah.
I guess is what I'm thinking.
No, I mean, it's, it's what the pleasure of the plan commission is there. That's why I went through this, so we could see that some of these things aren't really gonna be a one size, it isn't one size fits all, but
Exactly. And
there's gonna be situations where there would need to be deviation.
Well, sometimes they haven't got a place to expand. What if they're limited? That's it. It is what it is.
Yeah.
I got 15 parking spaces. I can't get any more.
Yeah.
Well, I think that's the whole point, is you let them build that big. But the whole point is they're saying, should we let them put it there? If they, I mean, if you're gonna let somebody put, you know,
It's
where they-
already there. You can't do anything about the ones already.
we're not, we're
No,
not.
no, this is gonna be,
Yeah, we're
this
not
is
talking
new
about-
development.
This is new development. So if somebody wants to put a CVS up and they come to they come with their plans to us, but it only shows 5 parking spots, it doesn't matter that that's all the land that's there is available. You guys
They
should
can't
say
do it. It's
no
not-
because that's not appropriate.
It's not
for
the
that.
highest and best use for that property.
So that's
That
so
always
this
comes into play, highest
this
and best
isn't.
use.
We're not going back and critiquing current commercial properties. This would be for future development.
Yeah, because we're using those as the model.
He's just using that to create a spreadsheet on,
Yeah.
is our square footage
Yeah. But the.
enough?
But I think the, you know, I think the spreadsheet though could be used as a model for us as we're reviewing other projects.
I mean, I'm not saying that 300 square foot isn't
Yeah,
too small, or too large enough. I'm just saying,
Yeah.
I don't want to get into a situation where, for instance, Reed has to have 20 acres,
yeah,
so they have enough parking
yeah,
to
yeah,
equate for their square footage of their building.
yeah.
And it all sits empty. I mean, like Kmart set up there. I mean, 3/4 of the parking lot was always empty.
Yeah, and well, another thing that could be advantageous also is that with some of these properties, if they have way too much parking, of course, it could encourage them to, because, well, you remove the paved surface. Now, of course, Brian, it could, so if someone removes parking, of course, that would mean less as far as the stormwater assessments. But in the meantime, by reducing the amount of stormwater coming off of the property, by having a green space to absorb it, there'll be less actually going into your stormwater system.
I think this tool that he's created, I think the way I would hope that you guys would use this is that you can, maybe every single type of facility doesn't need 300 square feet. Maybe we're finding that should be 200 square feet for sit-down restaurants, or 150 square feet for sit-down restaurants.
Yeah,
Because you can see a consistent problem with sufficient
Well, that's
or
what
excessive.
yeah.
But rather than having that be some committee in the future, which I don't have a problem with that, I think that maybe we create the ordinance to at least account for the majority of that. Because you don't want it to be every single thing is getting looked at. You see what I'm saying? That would be at least my recommendations. Like I think
maybe-
it's clear,
maybe
any
break-
restaurant, 300 square feet is not something I think is appropriate, because almost every single one of them is insufficient.
So have categories.
Yeah. Or maybe, I mean, it might just be 2 categories. It might just be everything, and then there's sit-down restaurants. But if you look at his chart, which took a lot of work, I'm assuming.
Yeah.
If you look at this thing, restaurants are hiccups.
Yeah.
Almost every single one of them, it's a restaurant would be the hiccup at the 300 square feet mark.
and and it's more of a hiccup, particularly as you start getting down below the 10,000 square feet.
Right.
Sit-down restaurant, insufficient, yeah.
I mean, you
Yeah.
you can start highlighting it and look at it.
Okay,
You got 18 out of 20 restaurants showing insufficient.
okay,
So that to me says 300 square feet's not a good mark.
It's too high.
Right.
Too big of a number.
Right.
okay, so I guess we could then, of course, run it through the Jeff test, is the language which is narrowly defined discretion, say, for the director to require more on these.
So then, for instance, Bill, let's just pull one of them out, the Pizza King, on East Fifth Street.
Yep.
8 parking spots is insufficient. What did you determine while you were looking at them, what is sufficient?
Well,
So you could
He's
back figure it?
if you look in the first column, he's got 30 as the current, that's the actual parking spaces for that facility, and it's frequently almost full.
Okay, all right, I
So,
see
but,
now.
but the difference might be the popularity of restaurants too. I mean, you can't get to where it's not gonna be a perfect formula, but
Right, but you could get somewhere in the ballpark.
so he's done a good job of, it looks like to me, Bill, I don't wanna speak for you, but you
Yeah.
have So the first column is the restaurant, second column is the location, the third column is the actual parking spaces
Yep.
currently correct. And then he has driven around and observed what he feels like the common expectation of that capacity of that parking space to be. So it kind of shows you like, okay, Pizza King's got 30 on East 5th Street and it's almost always full. So they really need to be around 30, if not more.
So,
And-
so otherwise, that calculates, if I did my math right, 76 square feet.
Yep.
Right.
Exactly.
Right. And maybe that's our answer. I mean, I think if you went
75
through
to
the-
100 square
Yeah.
foot maybe is the answer for a pub, for sit-down restaurants.
Yeah.
And it makes sense. I mean, if you compare that to a professional office, an accountant, well, an accountant's rarely going to have more than one person coming in
Two-
at the same time,
two-
right? Yeah. So,
Two clients,
so
that-
if they've got a small building, they probably works on 300 square feet.
Yeah.
Pizza King wouldn't work, or
Yeah.
you know, I'm not,
Yeah.
but you know, any
And,
type of pizza or
Yeah,
whatever.
and then when it comes to some of the things
30,
that
often
for the,
50
okay, yeah, then there's other items such as specialty retail, it's that, there's no, I mean, 300, I mean, it's, they don't need it, they don't need as much as others.
See now, for instance, pizza place, you said it currently has 30 parking spots and often 50% maxed out.
Yep,
So dividing that out, it's about 133 square feet.
yeah,
So if you called it 100,
yep,
it probably
yeah,
about right.
yeah.
But it might be a little light for Pizza King.
Yeah, and you're not. I mean, that's just the nature of the beast. You're not going to be able to get that close, but you're getting at least
Yeah.
where you're
In a range that it's easy for the BZA to give a variance
right.
for more parking.
What we don't want is a new restaurant that has a third of the spaces they need, and it's always a ridiculous situation.
You mean like McDonald's?
Yeah.
Well, the main one with McDonald's is there, I mean, it's the.
Thank goodness for Kroger's parking lot.
Yeah,
You got the same thing at Wings. They got they got parking lot
Wings,
behind them.
yeah.
yeah, and the,
I have a
and,
question on,
yeah,
we have a wonderful restaurant here in town. They took an old house and converted it into a restaurant.
Yep.
They probably have parking for 8 or 10 people or
Yep.
cars there. But they work on reservations mainly.
Yep.
Well, how you treat that, Bill?
okay, it's the, yeah, it's, well, I think there's another one also is, because some things can actually be used as, say you have a conversion like that. And no doubt they also have some people that also actually on-street parking. So, I mean,
So I think this is a perfect example. I think this is an absolute perfect example. So let's say we institute on restaurants 100 square feet, right? He comes to us and he says, look, I know that it makes sense. This is how big my facility is. I know you're saying I need 50 parking spots. I'm fine dining. I'm going
only
to take
need 10.
reservations. I'm only going to have 10 tables open. I'm controlling that. And you see what I'm saying? So then that's when your committee looks at it and says, okay, we can
review
deviate
committee.
from the 100 square feet because of his proposal. He's had somebody come. He's drafted something. You see what I mean?
Yes.
We don't want it to be so tiny that everybody gets it and then we worry about parking later. I would rather it almost be a little bit restrictive, and then that committee can say, here, we can deviate from it because of that exact perfect scenario. This guy he's got a fine dining situation, it's different.
And our review committee does have that power, don't they?
Absolutely.
To allow those deviations.
We can create that ordinance to be that way, yes.
Yeah, okay.
okay,
So one way to think of it is this is almost a starting point. Of
Yeah.
You need to, if you're gonna deviate from this, you need to explain to us why.
Why? You need to put a plan together.
Right.
Similar to what we went through out in the county when they wanted to have a wedding venue and campsite there at Stony Creek Lodge. And, well, put together your parking plan and, you know. Okay. So, Bill, did you find anything else that stood out?
okay, that's the only thing that really stood out, and I started working through the healthcare, and and for the most part, I really don't think that there probably isn't much of a problem with for the most part, with clinics and doctor's offices, but you know, and that will also vary upon the, how many rooms they have. So, yeah, for example, at the dermatology, they have 4 rooms. So 4 patients, and then they'll have some in the waiting room, and then also the employees. And on top of that, they're also only open 3 days a week here in Connersville. So,
And then there's some off-street parking as well,
Yeah.
isn't there? On the side street there? Yeah.
yeah, and so I think that, well, of course, the city of Connersville would have a problem with that, Brian. Figuring into allowing a certain amount of the percentage of on-street parking.
Well, sometimes it becomes a problem.
Yeah, because it really depends upon where it might be
Where it's
located.
at, yeah.
One would hope that if they're building a business in the business district,
You know,
on-street parking would be
yeah, well,
okay.
Yeah,
But,
it just depends on where,
but if we allow a business to be built in the middle of
if somebody's.
residential area,
Right, you don't want.
you don't want.
no, it's and most of these smaller numbers with things like that is really, it's a lot of the, really primarily the fact that if it's going to be conversion or something that's actually happening in a predominantly a residential area. But,
Bill, do you want a motion to add that 100 square foot maybe, or do you want to just put it in writing and then we can
Okay, well-
present it at the public hearing that way, or how do you?
okay,
want to
how
do it?
about, someone have a suggestion on the, how to place that, discretion or authority. And,
Because you've already got 2 variables in here now, 300 and 250.
yeah, because we have 250 for the,
Healthcare?
healthcare, and strangely is, I think that's, from what I've seen with the healthcare, I would go ahead and keep it, but I think that might not be as much of a problem as,
So then, why,
but,
healthcare, wouldn't HealthWorks fall under the healthcare?
yeah, I think we could probably put the gyms under also the healthcare. Yeah, the BAM Fitness, HealthWorks, the Anytime Fitness,
Those kind,
yeah,
which would be the 250.
yeah.
No. So is everyone fine with maybe 3 different categories? 300, 250, and for sit-down restaurants, 100, maybe?
Yeah, because,
Yeah, I think so.
yeah. but
Bill,
those-
I did have where did you come out at as far as the ones with drive-throughs, the stacking?
Okay, I still have the language, but I really I did not have the opportunity yet to go through and then count it. Really what I need to do to figure out the stacking is I need to be there when it's the peak traffic period, such as the morning traffic and
Noon time or?
noon, morning, and then also evening. So I can see how many vehicles are actually being used. Because I haven't, me personally, I haven't been by when I've seen it close to backing up into 30th Street maybe once or twice, but I haven't been by there when it's been backed up the way it used to be at the McDonald's.
Right, I haven't seen McDonald's be an issue. Taco Bell is always an issue, not as far as, they're not, a couple times I've seen them where they're lined up back to Park Road.
Oh, really? Okay.
Yeah, but that
Taco
seems to
Bell?
be.
I didn't realize there was anybody that dedicated to Taco Bell anymore.
Drive by there the right time of the night.
Really?
Yeah,
Oh, okay. Wings closed, I can't get any more food, right?
right, yeah.
Okay.
But I think, McDonald's kind of fixed theirs. Burger King has plenty of
Yeah.
parking lot there.
Have you seen Dunkin'?
I'm at
Piled
work.
up.
I'm at work usually when Duncan would be.
Yeah,
I haven't noticed it either
Yeah.
in a busy time.
Yeah.
yeah, because when
Some of that is, it's hot right now, right? I mean, it's gonna
Yeah.
be.
It was
it's-
new.
It's gonna be new.
Yeah,
I mean,
yes,
it'll
and
be-
that's what I was waiting on,
to
kind of
see
waiting on.
a year from now what it's like.
Yeah.
yeah, and
Month-old donuts is fine with me, I can wait.
but yeah, because the one thing I've also seen, it's okay. Need to take into consideration with the stacking is over there at the it used to be Quick Nick's,
Yes.
because that's absolutely insufficient at that time. So I think
Yeah, there's times
so I think with stacking, okay,
you gotta sit out into Park Road.
dude,
Or they're waiting in
and,
Park Road to turn.
and
Or wait.
and the drive-through groceries.
Yeah.
Okay. Because, I mean, because I have never been by the down on 8th and Western. I've never really seen that backed up with a problem. And I don't know if anybody else has seen whether or not it's ever backed up like that at Dom's.
Which they've got two, do they still use both sides of
I
the
believe
building?
so, yeah.
And I've never noticed it over the years.
Yeah, well, that's one of the things.
I mean, times have changed, there's probably more business that way, you
Yeah.
know, but.
Yeah, well, it's when they first approached us about the tear down and the rebuild McDonald's. The question was always, okay, you know that it's a problem, with the traffic. So the two things they did that's reduced the problem from what it was is, okay, they rotated the axis, which granted them more stacking space, and then also with the 2 lanes. So
But you can't get out.
Yeah, you can't, I mean, that's the problem, because now they stack 2 lanes
Yeah.
clear around to 30th Street.
Yep.
And it's not designed, it wasn't designed for
Where a
that.
lot of people try to come out and go left and you can't do it.
No.
Yeah.
No, the easiest exit there is just go around the building and come out the Kroger lot.
Yeah, yeah.
Well, actually, the easiest is just leave your car in the parking lot, Kroger's parking lot, and then walk in.
Yeah. If you wanna eat in,
Yeah.
90% of the time, you have to park over in the Kroger's
Yeah.
lot.
Yeah.
If it's a busy time.
Yeah.
Because
Well,
you can't get in there. And if you do get in there to get a parking spot, you can't, chances are you can't get out of the parking spot because of the drive-up traffic.
Yeah.
But most McDonald's, if you notice, most new McDonald's are that way.
Yeah.
Their drive-through blocks all of their parking spaces.
Yeah.
It may be.
Yeah. And
They don't want sit-down business.
yeah,
I don't think.
yeah, 'cause the biggest problem I ever have with anything like that is blocking the handicap.
Mhm.
That's the one that bothers me the most. things
And
like
they, every one of the handicapped spots are blocked.
that. Okay.
Okay.
Okay, how about the language then for the,
So you're gonna try to look at that and maybe,
yeah, okay, review committee, discretion, authority to, okay. Okay, so right now, what kind of number do we want for the sit-down restaurants?
well, I think with my calculations, anywhere from 75 to 100, I would say 100 probably.
Yeah.
Sit down 100 square feet.
And then let the review committee adjust it if necessary.
Yeah.
Would you agree or disagree, Jeff,
like
as far
that.
as legal?
No, I like that.
Okay.
Okay.
I mean, it doesn't get everyone,
We're not gonna get everyone, every
but I
restaurant's
don't think we're
gonna.
gonna get everyone.
I agree.
Okay. All right. Sit down restaurants. Okay. Restaurants. And
I just have a
then
hard
chat,
time.
we keep keep it at 300 for the primarily drive-through.
If that, it looks like it's adequate.
And drive-through carry-out, yeah.
And then you're gonna move all of the gyms to healthcare, right?
Yep, shift gyms into healthcare,
Which would be 250 square feet.
Yep.
Correct?
yeah.
Why the difference?
Well, it's just with the gyms is it depends upon whether you want to look at the gyms as actually just as a business, or whether you want to look at it as within the healthcare industry. So I think that's the question right there, is do we treat them all that way? But
I guess my question is why the healthcare is 250, everybody else is 300
Yeah.
by this chart?
'Cause
Why is it
well,
healthcare
the
300?
250 is what was in
Would
the-
allow more parking
Yeah,
spots.
because the 250
Or
was
required.
what's in, that proposed new.
After eating a Big Mac, you wanna get healthy, okay?
So whatever research was done with the 250, which was adopted, which is the one we basically cribbed, is that's what 250 was for those. And the other one is okay.
Well, I wonder too, maybe some of these, like for instance, HealthWorks, I'm not sure, they may use all of that square footage. But if they don't want to build extra parking at 250 square feet, they might decide to build a little smaller building.
Yeah, because right now HealthWorks has, a whole heck of a lot.
Well,
Yeah, well,
that goes back to the restaurant.
Yeah.
Yes, yeah.
11th frame?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, there wasn't that much parking there for the bowling alley.
Yeah.
They expanded that when they opened the restaurant.
When they open the restaurant, yeah.
But, yeah. Do you recall what it was then on that north lot of the two? Because I don't really recall what was there.
I think it was just field.
I think it was just a bare lot.
Yeah.
Yeah, I
Okay.
don't think
Yeah.
it was
Kinda
a
like-
building.
Kind of like behind the fire station where the J.C.'s built. That was just.
Okay.
Because I think, didn't Roger,
Bill
Bill
Rogers.
Rogers buy that
Yeah.
lot and pave it
Yeah.
for the parking?
Yeah.
Okay. Okay. And those are the only things I've actually gone through. There's other types of uses that I could have looked at, and I didn't really get a chance around to doing it. But,
Well, there again, if we run into items, that's what we can use the review committee for,
Yep.
so that we don't have to rewrite the Bible, so to speak. But we do have a good guideline here. And something for the review committee to actually go by as well.
Sure.
If they come in and pose the argument that they need less parking, then the review committee does have some language here that they can go by
Yeah.
and make
yeah,
a
because,
sound decision.
well, it's based on what we have here currently locally. Okay, the square footage for your type of business of X square feet calls for so many parking spaces. In our experience, what we have in the city of Connersville is that's insufficient.
Yeah.
Yeah, this
Okay.
strictly sold.
So
I can,
you got everything you need for that as far as language changes?
yeah, I'll work in at the location where I want to put that for the review.
Okay.
But, and then there's just some small little things here or there that I need to deal with. And I'll just need to then, I still want to work through, analysis with, the other types of uses.
Right.
But,
Yeah. Okay. And you'll send a final draft out to us
Yeah,
before the meeting?
Yep.
Everybody okay with going ahead with the 24th of August for a public hearing on this?
Yeah.
Okay. All right.
24th August.
That'll be our regular meeting, won't it?
Yep,
Yeah, that's what I
Is
thought.
it gonna be here?
yep,
Yeah.
yep.
You'll take care of the advertising as usual?
As usual.
Okay. Anything else on that parking? All right, we'll move on.
But in the meantime, if anybody does see something, you got questions, whether it's Within that is, go ahead and send me with your comments or questions.
All right.
Because we can make the changes at that time too.
Yes, yeah. Reformatting the zoning code, do you have anything else on
No,
that?
I don't have anything else
All right.
for the reformatting the zoning code.
All right, we'll move on to the solar moratorium. The commissioners did vote 2-1 to place the moratorium on till February 1st of '25. So they did take our recommendations. And I created, or what I think will help us with some suggestions to our ordinance. I'd like for us to create this solar steering committee.
You mean 2025,
No,
2024,
yeah,
which will be a year before the,
right.
okay, all right.
I'd like to at least get it here.
Man,
to
you
look at.
expect a lot out of me, man.
Well, no, I don't expect it out of you. I expect it out of us. What I would like to do is ask the citizens for a 12-member committee, 4 members that are ag property owners. Don't care whether they're for the commercial solar farms or against them. I'd like to have 4 property owners, ag property owners here in Fayette County. 4 members that are residential owners in Fayette County that would be affected, could be affected by a commercial zoning or commercial solar farm. And then 4 members at large. That's what I meant by that. I just wanted to open it up. They could be residential owners, they could be ag owners, they could be business owners of the county. They could be they could be a solar company representative, commercial solar representative on there. And then I've asked Darren if he would help me to meet with these members, and I've got the transcript from the attorney that spoke the other night at the public hearing. He was nice enough to give me his transcript that he spoke on, the points that he spoke on, so that I could, because I couldn't hear him well enough to get them all wrote down. And I'd like for us, this committee, to look at those points and look at our ordinance and say, okay, does it need modified, does it not need modified, and so on and so forth. I'd like for that committee to work hard enough that we're ready to come back to the APC in February of next year. I don't think we should drag this out if we don't have to, to February of 25. I think it gives us that time frame if we need it, and I think that's adequate time. But I really think if you and I get with this committee and really work hard and diligent on it, we should be able, I think that's a realistic time frame.
And could you scan that and get a copy of that to all the members?
This,
Planning
yeah.
Commission members,
Yeah.
yeah. And I think that anybody else has, in your review of it, is you can also forward your questions to the commit, to myself and the committee.
Yeah, but, so if no one has, if everyone's okay with that, I'd like to move forward as soon as we can with it. If somebody's got some different ideas, I'm open too, but I just thought maybe we could accomplish more if we worked as a subcommittee and then come back to the board with the results of that subcommittee, that steering committee.
I would ask one thing, all the members of your committees be a Fayette County resident.
Well,
Even the at large?
Well, that one you're gonna have to, I think, leave, if you have a solar company or a company, you're gonna have to have that one.
That's what, and that's what that was my goal, was those 8 members
Yeah,
must be Fayette County
yeah,
residents.
I think so. I think it should
Or
be.
Fayette County owners
Yeah,
and or residents.
yeah.
Because I think I think property owners that aren't residents of Fayette County, ag property owners, should have a say, be able to say, maybe I'm wrong, maybe,
I think if you're an owner or resident, you should be allowed to be on it.
okay.
Because it's gonna
You're-
affect them no matter what.
You're at large, that can kind of be a question, because if you have your solar company, that person more than likely is not gonna be a resident of Fayette County.
Right, right.
But they still should have some rights to say what they're thinking.
Or at least to say, hey, guys, if you create that setback on main drainage ditches, that puts us completely out of the ballpark. And then the rest of them can say, well, okay, how about this number? I mean, they could be used as a compromising tool with it too. But I think it's very important, and I think, at least I learned from the public hearing. I'm not sure Fayette County wants solar any more than they wanted wind. But I appreciated the other night, the public hearing I thought went very well. I think they stuck to the points of the ordinance very well. And I was thankful for that. I didn't want us going off onto
Yeah.
personal testimonies and
And I did appreciate what you tried to say there at the end, as far as people knowing what was going on.
yeah. But I just wanted to make them aware that, you know, we didn't throw this together overnight.
Yeah.
Because they don't know. Most of them don't know.
Well, I'll
How
tell you
much time
something
we
else
put
they don't
into
know, Gary.
I'm sorry?
If we don't get an additional source of income to this county, taxes are going to go up.
Well, either that or you quit spending.
Well, that's a good idea. We'll lay off all the courthouse people. We'll cut off a few of the sheriff department. We'll cut off, yeah. These are things that keep going up, and these things, that fundamental things. People want raises. We got work on the jail. We got money going out there. We got a new jail set there. We got to hire people, and we just have a limited amount of income to do it. And you're looking at millions of dollars that solar brings into a community. So you ask them, higher taxes for solar. That's what it's going to come down to.
Well, or let's encourage residential growth in
Do what?
Connersville. Let's encourage residential growth and retail growth.
Oh, yeah, we've got all 50 builders out here starting to build houses, and yeah, we don't have the builders.
We don't have the demand for it right now.
There you go.
What I'm saying is, let's don't depend on, let's don't take,
Take one item and think that that's the answer to the whole thing.
yeah, I mean,
Your ordinance was a beginning and stuff. We just needed to be tweaking it more as far as what it is. Maybe it's distances on things and stuff like that. And get through all that as far as that part goes. That's all that has to be done is this.
I'm,
Not just distance, there's other things in
Yeah.
there, but I'm just saying it
I mean-
just needs to be tweaked, that's all.
I realize listening to some people that we need more details in. I mean, we talked about drainage, but we didn't put anything in there as far as setbacks with mains. We
Yeah, I mean,
didn't-
there were some things that brought up as far as that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
You know,
maybe we just need to add a little more language to it
the only thing
to make it more clear.
Yeah, on your members at large, and when you talked about maybe having the solar people come in, so I'm not so sure that you might just invite them at certain meetings to come in and make a presentation or do something as far as
Okay.
versus having it larger, and then you could even limit this to 8 people, or make it 12 total people as far as
I
Fayette
guess
County
what I was
people and
thinking-
stuff like that. But as far as, because
I-
you could get on the other, if you brought them in as a regular thing, you might be constantly hearing that spill all the time, and you're not getting
Anything accomplished.
right.
But you're gonna hear that spill on the other side.
Well, you are
also.
too,
Yeah.
but I think
If you have them.
you might just limit your problems.
Well, and I think aren't some of those, that properties that were proposed, the owners are not Fayette County residents?
Yeah.
And here,
Well, the two in Fayette County are Fayette County
Yes.
residents.
Okay,
They are.
okay,
Rush County is the one that,
okay.
they were, I think, what, 5 out of the 6 of them don't even live in the county or something like that.
Something like that.
They live in Decatur County or somewhere else, I mean, but I guess what I was after, my first thoughts of the at-large was I wanted renters that rented houses, us to have a say-so in it. And that's why I was talking about at-large, and then I thought, well, maybe we open it up to allow the solar representative to be on that, to give that side of it. But you may be right. We may be better off just to create a meeting or two that we listen to Hoosier Solar
I
speak.
think it'd be good to have them on there, although have one of them and then have the guy from Falmouth that owns Falmouth Fire Supply, where it kind of equals out to see
And I think Nick is
where
one
we
of
go.
them that
You know,
is
I mean,
interested.
But I don't think you can have Nick in just that and not have the solar, because, I mean, that's kind of seems one-sided. Let's get both sides of it.
Well, the thing is, they're not gonna make anybody turn their farm into a solar farm, are they? I can't force you to put my solar panels onto your farm, can I?
Nope.
I just seen
But
them
I
force
don't want you having them either.
I just seen them force a store closed.
That's
up
the
in
thing, not in my
Indianapolis. The
backyard.
state took it from them, so I don't know.
Yeah,
Nobody's gonna make anybody turn their farm into a solar farm.
They had that farmer's market up here in Indianapolis, and the state took it from them today.
Really?
yeah,
Yep. They said it'll be there no more, and they're doing away with their property.
yeah, they took eminent
What are
domain.
they using it for?
I'm not sure, I didn't get
It
all
was,
of it.
it was NDOT.
Declared it eminent domain.
Yeah.
And they've been there, I think he said 16 or 18 years, so I guess they can do a lot of that stuff if they want, so.
Well, I know, what, one member, one of the discussions was, okay, limit the total acres that could be put into farms. And I said, on the surface, that looks good. But I said, if you're gonna limit the number of acres that can leave productive ag and become a business or a non-productive ag use, then any business that is surrounded by ag ground, then the BZA could say, or the commissioners could say, well, you can only expand 2 acres. And when I put it to them like that, they said, they backed up and they said, well, I see what you're saying. So I don't particularly cared for the suggestion that we limit the acres.
Well, I've talked to some of the people there, and they said, well, why can't they take it down into the Orange Township area of Rush County? I said, you're not on the grid there. If you're not in the grid, they're not gonna use your acreage anyway. But they wanna move it.
Why couldn't our ordinance encourage community solar farms more so than industrial solar farms? I've talked to a lot of people that, well, I wouldn't mind solar farms being a solar farm out there south of Glenwood if it's going to feed Glenwood. And so maybe we need to tweak our community portion of the zoning a little bit more to make it more encouraging.
Well, I think one aspect limit the acreage. Yeah, so, well, it's between research and then also with having input from someone involved with solar industry, is that what really is the actual, in Indiana, what is the viable acreage for one to make sense financially? So it's so you can choose numbers that are going to be way below that, and it will guarantee that you aren't going to have one.
Right.
So,
Yeah.
yeah.
So you want to leave, you want us to, out of those 4 members, 1 could be a member of the solar industry? Out of those 4? I mean, or do you want to just have a meeting, have a particular meeting to let them come in, or?
3 against the 1 for, and he's never gonna win. I mean,
Or
anyway.
you could have 11 against one.
Well, I'm thinking of.
No, I
I'm
mean-
thinking of
no,
more
I'm-
as an
I'm thinking of-
information
yeah.
thing, not,
Yes.
not really a voting.
Yes,
I'm thinking of in terms of information for clarification, where these other 8 members or 12 members are getting good information to
I mean,
make decisions
an
on
easy
things
way
and
to
stuff.
leave that is all 12 members have to be Fayette County owners
Right.
or residents.
Right,
And then if they do belong to a solar company,
yeah, and they get their answer, you get your questions answered, then you make a decision on those based on those things.
okay. Is everybody okay with that? We'll just make it,
So, okay, so you're saying they're not a voting member, but what you would have them then as, okay, it's just like with the UEA. The mayor is not a voting member, but he is a, what's the term they use, but he's a member of it, but he's a non-voting member. And, I mean, that might would something like that be in with what your concerns are?
well, I think what.
No, I'm not really concerned about them voting one way or the other than I just would use them for an information basis as far as answering my questions and how the thing works as far as payments to the farmer, as far as what, I want to know all the details now.
Well,
As far as how the
for
whole,
instance, the question was brought up about the inverter stations. Well, somebody made the comment, well, they make noise. Well, I'd like to be able to talk to somebody that's involved with solar and said, do these inverter stations make noise? How many decibels do they make, put out? And, you know, where are they built? Where do you put them? Or maybe we need to, if they do create noise, maybe we have to have a separate clause in there for setbacks of that from any residential people.
yeah, to me, it's so much of it was for protecting the guy that's the neighbor in all ways, shapes, and forms, whether it's the runoff, it's the viewing of it, whatever type thing, how you can take care of that. If you can't take care of it, then it's a dead issue, you know?
Yeah, and I like the idea, I was reading
Because
through.
isn't it the guy that says, I want these solar panels, that's all his decision anyway, as far as long as he's not infringing on
His neighbors.
neighbors, right? So, I mean, all we're doing is trying to protect the neighbors right now as far as, which I understand. I mean, I wouldn't, but I think it's a case of trying to figure out how you can do that. If your guy wants to put one of these in, there's certain restrictions for everybody involved, and not just him making X amount of money because he put the solar panels in there, and how that actually works.
What the farmers are worried about is putting these things in and breaking their field tiles. And nobody knows where the field tiles are, but once you break a field tile, it goes all the way up the line. And that's what's gonna mess the farmers up if you're not
Well,
informing that properly.
and see, that's what I'm talking about, and that needs to be addressed then, if it can or cannot be worked, and then,
I mean, if the field tile's down there 12 inches, we don't wanna drive those things down 14 inches.
right. But I'm saying then that's gotta be pushed, everything's gotta be pushed back into the fields or whatever. You know, I'm stupid at this thing, so I'm just,
Yeah.
I don't mean to be beating a dead horse on this.
Well, some of the things you're discussing here, those can also be worked into what the requirements are for with the site plan.
Yeah.
When do we require the site plan, that you got your, okay, things that weren't mapped previously, we'll require those to be mapped.
You could just have goals for the steering committee and not have hardline rules, just have goals. Our goal is that they're Fayette County residents, property owners. We would like to have all sides with some
Represented.
representation, yes. And we would like to have some neutral folks. Quite honestly, half this group being neutral folks that aren't really strong feeling one way or the other would be great too. So I think you're probably gonna have a hard time finding people. You're gonna be able to find 12 people against it real easy, I think. But you're gonna have a hard time finding neutral people, you're gonna have a hard time finding people for it that wanna allocate this kind of time. So I think maybe rather than having hardline rules, maybe just have some goals on what you want the committee to look like. If that makes sense. I mean,
Oh, it does.
yeah.
Okay, all right. We'll kind of continue working on this and get it out there and then see what kind of response we have as far as people. And I think, Jeff, I think you are right. I think it's gonna be up to maybe Bill and Darren and I to actually critique some of these people that's interested and try to get a variable of people, you know, on it. Business owners, as far as rural business owners, as far as property owners that are neutral, for it, against it. I didn't think we could accomplish anything if we had 50 or 60 people on it.
No.
But
The
yeah,
sooner the better.
yeah, I think,
Well, 12 in my experience working on with different committees is really, it's probably the maximum number to make it a workable.
I was
committee.
thinking in
Yeah.
12 to 15 people, and you may even take that committee and break into 2 different groups and work on, you know, different things, and then come back and so on and so forth. So, okay. Darren and I will continue to work on that and see if we can't get something established and start work. But I would like to, I wanted to take the opportunity to thank everyone that, for being part of the public hearing the other night. I really thought it went very well. I've seen a lot worse public hearings
Oh, yeah.
and a lot deadlier public hearings in the past, and I thought all the folks did a very good job of sticking to the points of the existing ordinance, and that was the word that I sent out to most of them that reached out to me is, hey, talk about the ordinance. We've got an ordinance in place. That's what we have to base our moratorium on. And they did that. I thought they did that, and I thank those people very much for that. I guess we're down to director's report. Any questions for Bill?
Actually, I did have a couple. Just, I don't recall ever having seen, the one here for Full Gospel Holiness, the Class 1 structures not requiring Indiana State design release, and then the Class 1 occupancies and structures requiring Indiana State design release, not requiring sprinklers.
Okay, that's all different from the general administrative rules for the state of Indiana.
Okay.
So what it is that if it's a small enough size, okay, there's very few things that don't require a design release. I mean, that's very small, and either an addition or a single standalone building. But the only time they don't need a state design release for Class 1, they don't need it, is if it is basically, if it isn't occupied.
Okay.
Yeah, so it could be a ramp, it doesn't need it, could be just I think the addition is 300 square feet and it's 500 square feet for such as a storage building. So once you get above that, then they have to have a design release. Then you get up to the square footage or the type of building, type of use it is, and that's when you get into does it need to be sprinkled? I think it's either 10,000 or 11,000 square feet. Now then then you get another where it requires a design professionals when it's over 30,000 cubic feet. And the reason that's there for the 30,000 cubic feet, because then you're getting into the basically fire area when you're looking at volume rather than square footage.
Okay.
Yep.
Any other questions? I'll entertain a motion to accept the report.
So moved. Second.
Motion made and seconded that we accept the director's report as presented. Any other questions or comments? All in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed, the same. Motion carries. Anything else need to be brought before the board tonight? pointing?
Oh, that, oh, you still need your signature.
Oh, okay.
It's turned out to be obvious.
I'll entertain a motion for adjournment then.
So moved.
Motion made and seconded for adjournment. All in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Meeting adjourned. Thank you.